I'm going to break down a quick masterclass on coping. So let's jump right in. What is coping? Coping is how someone deals with stress, difficult emotions, challenging situations. It's the strategies people use consciously or unconsciously to manage tough feelings and problems and emotional balance. We all get stressed, we all get anxious, we all get sad, angry, overwhelmed, and I'm going to sum all those feelings up, kind of just into the word stressed. So like, for example, I get stressed when I'm at my mom's house. It just feels like a stressful environment to me, being around family members and all the dogs and all those things. I get stressed when my baby is crying and it's going on for a long period of time and I'm not sure how to make my baby feel better. I'm stressed when my wife gets upset at me or I have an argument with my friend and it's not being resolved. I get stressed when I feel lost in life, and the list goes on, right? And when I'm in these stressful moments, I tend personally to cope with highly palatable foods, which are milkshakes, candy, pastries, fast food, cookies, etc. I tend to cope with biting my nails. And I tend to cope with zoning out with screen time. That could be video games, watching movies, watching shows, scrolling through social media, etc. Now, why? Well, because these actions bring me comfort. What is coping? You're coping. You're getting comfort from something, right? You're helping lighten your mood. You're helping yourself relax when you're feeling these emotions you don't want to feel. When you're feeling that stress and that anxious, or you're feeling angry, or you're sad, or you're overwhelmed, you want to subsidize. You want to take those emotions, right? And you want to minimize them. You want to release them. You want to get away from them. You want to start feeling good again. You don't want to feel those bad emotions. Right? So you go towards things that lighten your mood, that help you relax and get away from those emotions. And, the same way someone might feel that after smoking weed or drinking alcohol or something, that they're feeling relaxed and all those problems are going away, right? That's how they cope. So some of the most common coping habits are some of the ones I mentioned: the screen time, the food, but also the weed and the alcohol, right? The drugs, sex is another one people use to cope, video games, and so forth, even gambling. So you now are kind of understanding what coping is, right? And you're understanding why someone's coping in terms of like getting that feeling to just kind of go away, right? So the next thing is like, how often do people cope? How often should one cope, right? Coping's kind of like a natural part of life. Well, there really is no set number, but the reality is most people cope very often, every day, every other day, once a week. If you're, really killing it, maybe once or twice a month or something, and some people maybe even less. But the reality is people are coping a lot. And again, there's no specific number on how long or how often you should cope. I think it comes down to, what your coping mechanisms are, how healthy or detrimental they are to your life, and what your daily lifestyle looks like causing you to cope. So now that you're kind of understanding the why, you're understanding what it is, you're understanding the methods people use and how often people cope. And we're talking a lot of people coping every day, eating highly palatable foods, smoking weed, drinking alcohol, playing video games, whatever, to get away from these emotions. The question then becomes like, how do you stop? How do you get ahead of this coping? And me personally, I like to jump into what I like to call mental stations. And I believe I heard someone say that. So pardon me if I'm stealing that from somebody, but I call them, refer to these moments in my days, mental stations. And really what that is just actively coping in a healthier way to relieve my emotional and my spiritual state. So instead of going towards the highly palatable foods, the nail biting, the weed, the alcohol, the video games, or whatever, I try to go to healthier actions that are the easiest for me to implement or the most fun for me to implement. That is walking for me, that's showering, that's driving somewhere by myself, that's doing some breath work, mindful slow eating, hitting the sauna, getting in a cold plunge, listening to music, journaling, praying, talking with friends or family, making art, pursuing a meaningful goal. And this could be anything. It could be yoga, it could be biking, hiking, playing a sport, doing mobility work, doing resistance training at the gym, swimming, the list goes on. Those are all active options. So realistically, and again, these are mental stations, if you set yourself up ahead of the day, like you don't even have to think about it. It's just kind of what you do to where you're getting in these mental stations to bring down all the emotions that you may feel through a day, depending on how that day might go. But you're bringing those emotions down in your mental stations without even needing to forcefully put yourself in them, but that's just how your day is. Then your baseline emotional and spiritual state is going to be lower. So for example, if I have 3 meals every day, right, and a snack, and every time I decide to eat, I do what I like to call mindful slow eating. Another way of calling it is meal meditation. And I sit down and I do a 20-second breath work, and I give myself a positive affirmation, and I eat slow. That's every time that I'm eating, those 3 times a day. I already know no matter how my day's going, I'm going to have that moment to calm myself down, right? And I go into detail on that in another podcast, and you can listen to that. But, to really understand how I do the meal meditation. But another example is working out at the gym. If I go to the gym 5 days a week or 7 days a week or whatever, if I do yoga every day in my house, use whatever you want to fill in. If I go on a walk every day, that is something that I do every single day or almost every day, where I know when I get to that point in my day, I'm bringing myself down. I'm releasing those emotions, that energy. I'm connecting to myself, right? After I do that exercise or that gym or that walk, now I'm taking a shower. That's another mental station. I'm in the shower. I got the water on me. I'm sitting there. I'm breathing. I'm in that moment, right? If I write in my notes every time before I go to bed or something, or every time when I wake up or whatever, you can journal however you want to do, or you don't have to journal. Maybe it's praying, then that's another thing that I set up in my day. If I'm, doing after the workout or after I do something, maybe I have a sauna I use or I go to. These are all examples. I don't have to continue to dive into them, but the point is that when you set your day up to just be your normal day, and you have these mental stations that go and exist throughout your normal day, you're creating defense mechanisms against your anxiety and your stress and your feeling of overwhelmed and your anxiousness and your anger or whatever is happening, because you're going into mental stations that bring you down. And maybe you have days where it's just so hard and you can't help from coping. Everyone has bad days. It happens. But this is one of the best ways to actively fight against your unhealthy coping actions without needing to be so active, if that makes sense. And if you do decide to use walking or swimming or mobility work or yoga or a cold plunge or whatever these things may be, as I said in the beginning, go with the ones that are the easiest for you to implement. Go with the ones that are the most fun to do, because that's going to be the sustainable action. For me, it was walking outside every day. That's one of the actions I took. So almost every single day, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to become extreme about it, but almost every single day, I take a walk outside. Not because it's making me lose so much weight, not because of all the amazing benefits you get from moving your body every day, not because of the sunlight that hits me, and, not because I just need to get out of the house. Those are all reasons that help me, but mainly because I know by taking a walk every day, I'm grounding myself in that moment and helping take one step further in my life to not cope with my unhealthy things. It's really just staying away from the unhealthy coping by just doing the natural, healthy things that are easy and fun for me to do. It's another reason why I do, like I said earlier, the meal meditation. It's not because I specifically want to be so focused when I eat my meal, but while it does feel amazing, but the real reason is because I know when I eat from a place of that conscious, comfortable in my own body, present self, I'm not only going to just eat better and everything, but I'm bringing myself down so I know that I'm getting better chances to not cope that day. And that's really, why I do these things. And that's really, a great way to get ahead of coping. And there's no one size shoe fits all. What do all these things have in common? Well, they're just helping you get out of your head and into the present moment. They're helping regulate your emotional and spiritual self. So if you have other things that help you do that in a healthy way, then by all means. But, these are just active ways without feeling active of just, getting your day to be better. And if you treat every day like a new day and you do this every day, you're hopefully going to cope less on the unhealthy things. And that's really what coping is, right? So you understand what coping is, you understand why someone's coping, how often people may cope, and how to get ahead of the coping. And that's really a master class on coping. It's very simple. People don't think about it all the time, but it is a major reason on why people struggle with weight gain and why people will struggle with sustainable weight loss. It's because they come back to coping because their days are feeling overwhelmed, or they're feeling anxious or sad or angry or stressed, and they don't have a way to escape those feelings other than the ones that they feel they have been doing their whole life, or the ones that they've fallen in love with and have been using as their vice. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to keep using those. Set your days up to be actively getting in those mental stations without you feeling like it's active, because it's just part of your normal everyday. And you're going to find that you'll need to cope less.